Hi, this is Ron Tanner from houselove.org, and I'm standing inside a fireplace in a Victorian kitchen because this is where the original range went. It was cast iron, it was coal-fired or wood-fired, and the cooks relied on gravity to take it through this 40 feet of chimney out of the house. Now that's not good enough for us these days because we really have some high burning ranges like this one, which has 6 burners on it. So we need a really good fan that's up to the task, and this is the fan that we have chosen. And I'll tell you the formula for deciding what size fan in just a little bit. But what we have here is we're going to have to hang this inside the chimney flue up about 5 feet, and we're going to have to put ductwork on top of it to help evacuate that air into the chimney liner. Now, chances are you don't have a Victorian kitchen, and you don't have an open fireplace into which you will vent your stove. But a lot of the challenges that we're going to face today are challenges that you may face no matter what vintage your kitchen is. So, let's get started. We're now on the porch dealing with the fan assembly. There are 2 portions of the fan assembly we have to deal with. It's the top part and the bottom part. The fan's going to be attached with this bracket, just like this. And so here's the fan, and it's going to exhaust that way up through the chimney. Now the challenge of this first part, going up into the chimney, is that we're going from a 10-inch fan down to a 5-inch liner. Every chimney should be lined because the liner keeps the moisture out of the mortar in the chimney. And the mortar is susceptible to all that moisture, and it will deteriorate. So what we want to do is get the air, this moist air from the kitchen, into the duct. So the duct in my flue is 5 inches across. So I've got to put all these reducers to take it up from 10 inches into that 5-inch duct that's already up there inside the chimney. So what I have are all these pieces here. First of all, I have a damper, and the damper keeps the backdraft from coming down into the kitchen. So this fits nicely here. We're just going to put 2 sheet metal screws here, and that's going to be great. And then we have a reducer that goes from 10 inches to 8 inches. So that fits well. 2 more screws here. Silicone that nice and tight. That's going to be great. Then we have 2 more reducers. One takes it from 8 inches down to 7, and then from 7 down to 5. And as you see, these aren't fitting too well because it's 7 here and 7 here. So we're going to have to clip this and fit it in there. A little bit of silicone, a little bit of sheet metal screws, and all that's going to work just fine. But as you see, we cannot do this inside the chimney flue. It's all got to be assembled out here, ready to go, so that when we get that fan inside the flue, we're just going to install it in and stack all the stuff on top of it. That's the first part. The second part, once it's inside the flue, we're going to have pieces coming down. And those are easy because those are just 10-inch ducting. And they'll just fit right under here, and we're going to hang those. So we'll look at that later. But right now, what I have to do is go into that dark, cramped little flue and put this bracket in so that we can attach our fan.
Okay, here we are inside the chimney. It's very tight space. As you can see, at the top is the opening for the liner. Here's an arrow to show you where that is. And now here's a drawing to show you where the fan will be installed. Here is the reducer stack itself. It's quite a construction. It's assembled with sheet metal screws and sealed with silicone. I'm going to put this up into the chimney first, obviously, because there's no way I can get it in after I get the fan up there.
Okay, what we're doing is hooking up the electricity to the fan, and we just took off this housing here, and it will show you inside a little schematic that tells you which wires go where. And we have 3 connectors for the wires, and what we've done is we've just stripped off a little bit of each. And ideally they're about the same length, and we're going to put them into each of these connectors, and we're going to tighten them down with these handy dandy screws. And we have the hot is the black, the white is the neutral, and then of course over here we have the ground. 3 wires always. for these connections.
Here's a drawing of the installation that we're attempting. We start with the reducer stack that goes up into the chimney liner, and the reducer stack is attached to the fan, and the fan at the bottom is attached to a large elbow that outlets over the stovetop. And here's the formula for determining what size fan you need for your range. Look in the owner's manual for your range and find out what the maximum output is for your stovetop. For every 1,000 BTUs your stovetop generates, you need a fan that can move 10 cubic feet of air per minute. If you have a stovetop like mine that generates 80,000 BTUs at maximum output, then you need a fan that can move 800 cubic feet of air per minute.
Okay, here we are inside the flue of the chimney. You're looking at the bottom of the fan, and as you can see, this fan is wobbly, and that's just not going to do. You know, that's pretty slack. I imagine the manufacturers expected that there'd be some other brackets holding in the rest of the ductwork, and maybe that would keep the fan stable. But so what I'm going to have to do is put a brace across here and support. Look at this. I can wobble this, I can move this up and down to support that fan housing. Now if we go back, I want to show you that we're looking at the reducer stack that goes up into the liner. Now that's worked out pretty well, and I have that propped on a masonry nail. Masonry nails are really handy. You see that I've used them right here to run my electric line down from the fan housing. Okay, as you see, I have put in some 2x4 bracings to make this thing a lot steadier. It still moves back and forth that way, but up and down is real firm. So I'm going to put some foam, styrofoam, in the sides here. Now that we have all this good support with the braces here and with this foam packed around it, this thing is just not going to move at all.
Here are the elbows for the bottom of the fan. They fit together easily. You can get these from a heating and cooling supplier. Here's the elbow installed at the bottom of the fan. It's braced, you see, and it outlets over the stovetop. We need one more piece to bring it down. These sheet metal ducts come unassembled, but they're very easily put together. They simply snap together at the seam like this. Wear gloves because this stuff is sharp. All you need are 10 snips to cut where you have measured. Here is the duct final install, going from the stovetop up into the elbows, and the elbows over the brace, and then up to the bottom of the fan. And of course the fan outlets into the reducer stack. We need a filter for our fan, otherwise we're going to muck up the fan with grease and dust. I bought a high-grade filter but had no filter holder for it, so I made one with an aluminum picture frame, and these are handy because they come with these very secure braces that keep it rigid. So I'm going to put hinges on this and attach it to the hood. Here's the finished hood installed above the cooktop inside the hearth. The hood is made of 1/4-inch plywood covered with sheet aluminum, which is a lot easier to work with than sheet metal. And of course I have 2 recessed lights there and power. Here we are at the finished product. The fan is about 3 feet up inside the flue. The ductwork comes down in an S to the middle of the fireplace, where we have a handy filter. The fan itself is very powerful. That's what we need for a big range like this. My name is Ron. Jill is my partner. We are houselove.org. Thanks for joining us.